Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Liz and this is A Catholic Mother's Journey. I'm really pleased you're joining me today. Happy New Year. I hope your 2025 is going really well so far. And on that note, I really felt the Lord prompting me to talk on here about what is God calling you to change for 2025? What does God want you to do differently in 2025? So I was reflecting on when in the past I have felt led to change things in my life. So what I mean by that is to leave behind certain things, whether that's people, things, habits, things I do, etc. And when I do that and I leave those things behind that the Lord leads me to, then I see real spiritual growth after that. I see other doors open. I see breakthrough, for example, in my prayer life. I mean, this may not happen overnight, but when you feel the Lord leading you away from something and asking you to leave something behind, it's usually because he wants to open a new door for you, or there's going to be, a big spiritual growth in your life or something like that. So what is God calling you to change and leave behind for this new year, for this new chapter in our lives? So there can be things in our lives that may seem harmless in themselves, but they're just not God's will for us to be doing. There may be things that are actually dragging us down. And they are things that just can't come forwards with us if we want to make progress on our spiritual walk with the Lord. So, for example, things that may not be bad in themselves, or it may be that things are bad in themselves, and we definitely want to get rid of those things from our lives. So, for example, an addiction, something like that. Maybe this is the year to leave that addiction behind so that you can move forward with the Lord and experience spiritual growth and breakthrough. But it may be also things that don't appear to be bad in themselves, but they are actually holding us back. Maybe they're taking up too much of our time. Maybe they're blocking God in our lives because we're spending too much time on those things, even though they're harmless in themselves. So, for example, it may be people. It may be that God's will is that you don't hang out with those people so much anymore this year. They may be people who you've known for a long time. They may be old friends, for example, but perhaps they're not believers, or perhaps they're Christians, but they're not in the same place that you are. Maybe you've had a conversion in your faith and you're moving in a different direction and at a different rate to them on your walk with Jesus. And so it's not the Lord's will for you to be spending a lot of time with them anymore. It may be that you've thought, oh, but I can evangelize these people. Yes, possibly, but maybe not. Maybe, you can't evangelize those people. Maybe you've done what you can. It's not possible for us to evangelize everybody. And so it may be that those people that you're hanging out with are actually dragging you down, or at least preventing your spiritual growth. Or it may be things in your life that you need to leave behind. It may be habits. For example, are you watching too much TV? Are you watching the news too much? Are you checking your phone for the news too much? Are you watching too much sport on your phone or on your TV? And you're just spending too much time doing that instead of spending time with the Lord. Maybe you're neglecting that prayer time with him. So these things may not be bad in themselves, but are we doing them too much? Are we focusing too much on those things? Are we made too much space in our lives for those things and not enough space for the Lord? Sometimes it's headspace we need to get. We need to cut things out and cut out the clutter and the dead weights from our lives and clear that space in our life, that time, that space, even that headspace, so that we can focus on God more and spend more time with him. Speaking of my own life, at one stage, I was watching a lot of Christian videos on YouTube, and I was sort of listening to them in the background while I did other things, washing up, cleaning, whatever it was. And I was listening to these things and I thought to myself at the time, oh, this must be really good for me. I'm learning all this stuff. They're all Christian videos. They're all good videos. They're good content. And they were good videos in themselves. They definitely were. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. And I thought, well, this is spiritually nourishing me because it's Christian content. But actually I was spending too much time watching these videos. Sometimes things are a good thing, but they're not a God thing. And I really felt in prayer one day that the Lord was leading me away from watching this Christian content on YouTube, or not to be watching so much of it anyway. and I felt I was being led to be more selective about what I was watching, even if it was Christian content. And when I started doing this and I watched less on YouTube, I really realised that I'd neglected prayer time with God, just that one-to-one time, me and him, that time that we all need where we're just speaking directly to him. So that might be something that you can relate to. Maybe you watch YouTube videos like me, or, I was watching too much of them. Maybe that's an area that you need to think about for 2025. It was certainly something I had to do. We can spend a lot of time, can't we, on social media, just scrolling through, and the time just goes by and we stay up late and we wonder why we're tired. It's so easy to get so busy in our lives that we neglect our prayer lives. And we think, well, I'd love to fit prayer in, but I can't find the time. But actually, it can be that we're spending too much time doing things that we can cut out of our lives, things that the Lord doesn't want us to be doing. And then we can free up that time for him. And when we let go of these things and close these doors in our lives, God opens new doors. This may not happen overnight, but when we look back, we can see that actually it really does lead to our spiritual lives soaring, to be honest. I've experienced that in my life. It's when you feel God calling you to do it and you do it, you can see the change that happens as a result of it. But usually it's only later on when you look back and see it. We should be moving forward spiritually always and not clinging on to the past, even just past habits. These habits can make us feel comfortable in our lives, can't they? And so it can be uncomfortable, it can be painful to let go of them. But once we let go of them and we clear that clutter, we can move forward spiritually. It may not always feel like we're moving forward spiritually, but once we've shed those dead weights from our lives, we can make that spiritual progress with the Lord. It can really impact as well on the ability to hear from God. If we're spending too much time on things that God doesn't want us to be spending time on, such as watching TV, then it really does cut down the ability to hear from God, because we need to be spending time with him and developing that relationship with him to be able to hear from him. It's not the only thing that enables us to hear from God, but it is a key factor in being able to hear from him, and that is to spend time with him, spend that quiet time with him, away from distractions, away from our phones, away from the TV, away from all our devices and other distractions. So how do we know which doors we need to shut in our lives so that God can open new ones? How do we know which things, which people, which habits we need to get rid of and shed in our lives in order to be able to move forwards with the Lord in 2025? Well, we can pray and ask for discernment, so we discern what the Holy Spirit is leading us to do. And he prompts us, he shows us what we need to change in our lives. If you're watching this video and you're thinking, well, I can't hear the voice of the Holy Spirit, how do I know? Well, can you spend time in prayer, asking for guidance? Can you spend time in prayer reflecting on your life, reflecting on what you do in your life, what you spend your time on? Do you spend time doing things that you suspect are not helping you in your spiritual walk? Are you doing things that maybe aren't exactly godly habits? Are you watching TV programs that are ungodly, that are unholy? You can start by maybe deciding to cut down on those things that are quite obviously not helping you in your Christian walk with the Lord. Maybe spend time thinking, well, doing that and spending time on that doesn't seem to be aligned with where I want to be as a Christian, or where I believe I'm headed as a Christian. I want to be committed to the Lord, but I'm still doing that thing. And actually deep down in my heart, I do know that I shouldn't be doing that thing, or I shouldn't be spending so much time on it. So maybe just reflect and then try leaving some things behind and see what happens. Spend that time with the Lord instead and see what happens. So I hope that video has blessed and encouraged you, and I hope it helps you moving forward spiritually in 2025. Thank you so much for watching today. Please do take a moment to like and share the video with anyone who comes to mind when you're watching it, who you think might like to see it. I pray that you have a really blessed day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. So until then, God bless. Bye.